Good evening, Houdat Nation, and happy Wednesday on a Thursday to our BayouBlitz family. Yeah, that's right. Your co-host, myself, Bob Rose, and him, Brendan Boylan. We have flexed our power over the space-time continuum and moved your BayouBlitz this week from Wednesday to Thursday. We have that kind of influence because we are who we are, and I'm hoping everybody is having a wonderful week. There's no Saints game to stress over this coming weekend, so it's time for everybody to take a deep breath and just relax and have fun for a week as you prepare for your holiday nightmare shopping and whatever else that you do this time of year. And having said that, joining you in the fun, or maybe you're joining us, I don't know. Again, my name is Bob Rose. His name is Brendan Boylan. Brendan, I know you were cursed with a trip to Western Pennsylvania. My family and I want to thank you and Elijah for making some time, having a nice dinner together. We only see each other maybe once a year, once every year and a half. So it's always great to catch up with you. But I'm glad you're home.
I'm glad I'm home as well. I don't know why it waited until I got up there to kind of like have your first snow flurries of the year. But it is what it is. I do want to brag on Bob, though. I mean, you talk about a guy rented out the entire restaurant, waited for us, paid for a steak dinner. I'm just kidding. But Bob was.
I paid for my own steak dinner. Does that count?
Yeah. Well, look. I wish I took a photo and posted it in the group or something. Because Bob finished off like a full rack of ribs that were probably as tall as him, and that was wild. While I'm sitting there eating like my appetizer or whatever. But no, thank you so much for taking some time to meet with us. I certainly appreciate it. Like you said, we don't get together a whole lot. Just the way the world is, we're a 8-hour drive away from each other. So it is nice when work takes me up that way. I know that I always have a place to eat, a place to hang out if I need it, and some good company. So I am extremely thankful for that. It also proves that, this industry is super unique in the sense that we get to do those things. And all these
and the world is comically ironic because I cover the New Orleans Saints. The Saints were in Charlotte the last weekend. You weren't in Charlotte. I'm back in Pittsburgh, and then the following week you're in Pittsburgh, and that's how we meet up. Go figure.
Yeah, of course, right? That's just how it works. No, I think it is really cool, and we told Elijah a little bit about it as well. Like, we worked together for so many years and had never met face to face. Then over the last 3 or 4 years, we've seen each other every year. And that's just the beauty of this industry and being able to work in it for as long as we have. Before we get started with talking about Tyler Shough, his first winning in Charlotte, putting some Panthers fans and some of my friends into all sorts of misery during the week and questioning whether Bryce Young's the guy moving forward or not. I know that you want to talk about some warmer times ahead, right, coming up in March, because I hated the snow. I also hate the roads in Western PA that are not the turnpike, because why does it take an hour and a half to 30 miles? I don't know. It might still take an hour and a half to go 30 miles on this cruise that you're going on, and I know that you're going to tell the people you really want time to go slow because it's the best time they're going to have all year long. So let's tell people a little bit about this cruise, the Go Black and Gold Celebrity Charity Fan Cruise. Bob, take it away.
Yeah, I mean, Brendan and I, just talked about how we love to get together and meet, and we only get an opportunity every so often to do so. One opportunity, for me to meet you folks, and for you folks to meet me and my terrific family that puts me to shame, is the annual Go Black and Gold Celebrity Charity Fan Cruise, and you need to get ready for the Get Checked or Check Out Foundation's annual cruise. Next year's cruise, the 2026 cruise, will set sail Thursday, March 26th through Monday, March 30th. Leaves from Jacksonville, Florida for an unforgettable weekend in the tropical Bahamas. you get to join Black and Gold legends Delvin Breaux, Tyrone Hughes, Michael Lewis, and Courtney Roby for a tremendous fun-filled getaway with a purpose. We'll visit the brand new Celebration Key Island and Nassau in the Bahamas, where you'll be able to play beach Olympics with your favorite team captain, compete in a highly intense putt-putt golf tournament, enjoy meals, game nights, trivia, and Q&A sessions with all the players that I mentioned before, and just generally party the days and nights away on the entire cruise together, with each other, with your fellow fans, and with Delvin, Tyrone, Michael, and Courtney and their families. We're all intermixed. We have our own section of the ship the entire time. So book your cabin today. All these tickets help raise the much needed funds for the Get Checked or Check Out Foundation, which you can check out there. No pun intended. You could check out their website at tcynow.org. Check out what they're all about. They're a foundation set in place to help steer you in the right direction if you or a loved one gets a dire medical diagnosis, you don't know where to turn next. Get Checked or Check Out is in place to guide you towards research, therapy, treatment options, and whatever else you need. But they're a charity. They are a charity, so they need our help to help us. And the Get Checked or Check Out Foundation's annual cruise, this cruise coming up in 2026, that's their major fundraiser of the year. So you get to not only have a literally unforgettable time that I guarantee you will make it a part of your yearly trip planning, but you also get to benefit such a great cause. You can reserve your spot now by calling Summer at 985-788-6584. Again, that's Summer at 985-788-6584. Make sure you mention me. Make sure you mention the Bayou Blitz when you do. She will take care of you, I promise. Or you can contact Shireen, the co-founder of Get Checked or Check Out, for any more details and other promotional options. Shireen's number is 504-305-7563. Again, I want to meet. I met so many wonderful people last year. You guys made it made us feel right at home, like we've always been a part of your family, and I want more of you involved. Again, it gives you just an unforgettable time while benefiting such a terrific cause in the process. And having said that, Get Checked or Check Out wants to remind you that November is Diabetes Awareness Month. Diabetes affects about 38 million Americans, both adults and children. It's a disease that could affect your eyes, your kidneys, your nerve, and your heart, as well as being linked to several different types of cancers. While more likely to develop in a person 35 years or older, family history, a person that's not physically active, obesity, if you don't maintain a healthy diet, with also increased chances in certain different races, those all play factors as well. So make sure you manage your diabetes ABCs. Get that A1C test, your blood glucose tracking test, through your healthcare provider, through your doctor. Make those appointments, keep those appointments, and not only worry about yourself, but your loved ones too. B, manage your blood pressure. And C, manage your cholesterol. Both of these things can help, can help prevent diabetes and other health-related ailments, of course. Make sure you maintain as physically active a lifestyle as you can, avoid obesity, and eat as healthy a diet as you can. So again, November, Diabetes Awareness Month, but don't just focus on that. Focus on every aspect of your mental and physical well-being, as well as those of your loved ones. And don't forget to help Get Checked or Check Out by booking your spot for the 2026 Go Black and Gold Celebrity Charity Fan Cruise. If you have any questions or need any more information about my own personal experiences on the cruise, please feel free to reach out. I love to talk about these people. It's a cause I believe very strongly in, and like I said, once you go for the first time, I can pretty much guarantee you will make it a part of your yearly trip planning. We did. We were on the cruise for about an hour to 2 hours, and we'd already decided, you know what, we're coming back. We love to be a part of this thing. I want to make you a part of this thing too.
So go ahead, book it. You're thinking about how cold and miserable you are right now. Might as well have something warm and fun to look forward to. Well, I can't speak
Indeed.
for everyone. Maybe it's a little warmer down in New Orleans and whatnot. But man, oh man, it was cold down here in Charlotte. It obviously was cold in Pittsburgh this past week. But it wasn't cold. Was Tyler Shough. He looked really, really good in his start against the Carolina Panthers. Bob, what was your thoughts on Tyler? And yeah, it was a low scoring game, but he ultimately had people turning their heads and maybe getting a little ahead of themselves in the Twitterverse with the Twitter fingers. But nonetheless, did enough to give the fan base some hope.
Well, I mean, first of all, I want to get, if you folks read my articles, you already know this factoid that I put out in one of my post-game pieces on Sunday evening. But it's such an unbelievable stat that even if you read my piece and already know it, this is worth repeating. It had been 44 years and a span of 677 regular season games since a rookie quarterback had started and won a game for the New Orleans Saints. That is by far the longest stretch of any other team in the league. The next longest was the Dallas Cowboys, who won a game with Steve Walsh, not Troy Aikman, Steve Walsh in 1989. So that's 1981. A guy by the name of Dave Wilson, for you more seasoned Saints fans. Dave Wilson had also previously held the single game rookie record for passing yardage with 244 yards set that year. Shough broke both of those. Obviously, as you pointed out, Brendan, the Saints won the game. But Tyler threw for 282 yards. And I thought he was very impressive while doing so. He peppered the Panthers at all three levels. He climbed the pocket and moved away from pressure. With so much agility. And what impressed me most, he not only moved away from pressure. A lot of guys are athletic enough to move away from pressure, but Tyler did so while maintaining his throwing mechanics and still making passes on the move. Accurately downfield. He was putting throws in positions for his where only his receivers could get it. A couple times in multiple coverage situations. Putting the ball in areas where his receivers could make plays after the catch. In other words, hitting them on the run and things like that. And obviously, against a rookie quarterback, you're going to want to blitz a lot. And Carolina blitzed a good bit of the time. Tyler maintained his poise throughout too, completing 19 of 27 passes, but he was something like 6 for 9 on third downs, with both of his touchdowns coming on third downs, and
yards too.
Half the yardage, and just converting third and medium, third and long situations, something we haven't seen out of a Saints offense consistently for pretty much since some guy wearing number 9 hung up the cleats, going on 5 years ago. Now, having said that, and I know you're going to jump in with your opinion in a minute too, Brendan. I've been a Tyler Shough supporter since pre-draft. I liked what little I saw from him in Texas Tech. Really liked his last year at Louisville, and I liked him as a prospect. Coming into the draft, I supported the pick mainly because you're an offensive coach in Kellen Moore. Whether we agreed with the pick or not, as quote unquote, professional analysts, wannabe professional analysts, that's who the coach wanted. So that's why you needed to support the pick. Having said that, a lot of you want to be analysts and want to be GMs. You hated it from the start, and it almost felt like you wanted the Saints or Shough to fail just to prove yourself right. Some of you same people were on social media before the end of Shough's second start, saying, well, the Saints have a quarterback and blah, blah, blah. Pump your brakes. Pump your brakes. Whether you were the Shough hater from the start, give him a chance. Whether you were a Shough lover from the start or you're one of those morons that just suddenly played the two-faced Batman villain, this is his first win and second game. Let's see what we have in the kid. Yeah, I like him, but I'm more interested in what kind of development and progression we're going to see from him the rest of the year. Now, that's my soapbox, Mr. Boylan.
Yeah, I was a guy who didn't love the pick, but I was also a guy that said, if this is what the coaching staff wants, it is what it is. I hope the best for him. He's impressed me through 2 starts. Now, given that first start against the Rams was, I think I called it an incomplete grade.
Right.
Just because of the lack of time of possession that they had.
Yeah.
But he had moments. And then in this game against Carolina, what you said is so accurate is when you're talking about mobility, Shough's not the most mobile quarterback. But he's a guy that has pocket presence and escapability within the pocket, right? I believe it was on the broadcast. They were kind of comparing it to Tom Brady as a guy who didn't run for any yards, was never a guy who was going to beat you with his legs, but a guy that was very good at manipulating the pocket and being able to adjust and find different launching points. And I think that's what Tyler Shough showed against Carolina. Now, do you have to take it with a grain of salt? Absolutely. It's one game.
Mm-hmm.
You have to take it with a grain of salt? Absolutely. Carolina was the worst defense in NFL history last year. Are you going to still find some positives out of this? Absolutely. When's the last time we had seen a deep ball touchdown for over 30, 40 yards? It's been a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
It was nice to see that. When's the last time we had 2 pass plays over 50 yards in the same game? It's been a little bit. When's the last time that Alvin Kamara was that involved offensively? Been a little bit. Maybe not as long as the other 2, but it's been a little bit. That's been one of my biggest knocks the last couple weeks, right? Is where's Alvin? When's the last time Chris Olave had 100 yards? I don't know that stat off the top of my head. I'm sure some of you watching do, but it's been a little bit.
Early last year. It was late September of last year.
Been over a calendar year. Those are the positives that I'm going to take away from this game and go, okay, you know what? Battered offensive line too. Like, I don't think there hasn't been enough talk about that with, Fuaga missed, McCoy obviously out for the year. You just traded Trevor Penning. Like all of that to still come out. And yeah, was it the prettiest? No. Was it the most fun and enjoyable time I've ever had watching a Saints offense? No. But it feels good to win. The defense played really well, and I'm sure we'll touch on that a little bit. But we do want to talk about Shough most of this episode, and those are the positive takeaways. Was and things that you would expect for an older rookie, right? A guy who spent 7 years in college. I would expect you to have a pocket presence, a high IQ, the ability to change launch points, and all of those things. But it wasn't like the Spencer Rattler games where it felt very vanilla. It was a lot of dink and dunk. It was like one shot play. It didn't feel like that. It felt like it was a lot more of an open playbook for Tyler, that he took opportunity. He made some good throws.
Mm-hmm.
The one on social media that I've seen a lot, it was a good throw. I don't even think it was my favorite throw of the day from him, but that one where he got the ball to Vele between two defenders, like that one's gone. I wouldn't say viral, but it's been posted and shared a lot in the Saints Twitterverse. That throw to Olave down the sideline for the touchdown was a great throw, a beautiful throw.
The other one to Olave, I think it was Olave, made a one-handed catch. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta put that in a bucket, right? That was the only spot that Chris could have got it.
The backside screen to Kamara. I know it was only a screen, but Tyler got the ball out of it. He looked off the defender to the right, immediately whirled around to the left, had zero hesitation, and flicked that ball out there. Again, hitting Alvin on the run. There was no stop and start. Hitting Alvin on the run and letting him do his thing. I haven't seen Alvin Kamara run a screenplay like that since Drew retired, honestly. And it was just, again, Tyler showed that he could make plays and hit his receivers, in accurate spots on all three levels on Sunday. And I can't wait to see more of it.
Yeah. And that's a big confidence thing too, right? Like you got to have the confidence, like you said, to look off for a receiver, no hesitation, just whip it. You got to have the confidence to throw a ball 40 yards in the air, 50 yards in the air, downfield to Chris Olave. You got to have the confidence to step up and throw a lot of the passes that he did. You have to have confidence in yourself. I mean, obviously you got to have confidence in your teammates, but that's what you want out of your quarterback, is that zero hesitation. I have all the confidence in the world. I'm going to sling it. I'm going to make it happen. And that's what he did, which is what we as analysts and as fans have been waiting for, is to have a quarterback that has that kind of confidence within himself. Do you want to talk about defense, or do you want to stick with Tyler Shough?
No, I mean, we could talk about defense. Obviously, we saw a lot of good things. I want to pump the brakes on it a little bit because you were facing a Panthers offense, which frankly I think is awful. But I'll start with coaching here because I've been more and more critical of both Kellen Moore and Brandon Staley. Feels like with each passing week. I still didn't like a lot of Moore's play calls on offense against Carolina. Despised the first half clock management. I mean, that made me physically ill. But Brandon Staley came into this game, okay, we're going to stop the Panthers from running the football. And that's where most of Carolina's success has been had. And not only did they successfully do that, by employing that strategy, you are basically daring the Panthers to beat you with Bryce Young and the outside receivers. And Carolina wasn't able to do it. I give Alontae, everybody's talking about the game that Alontae Taylor had, and he did play very well. I thought Quincy Riley and Kool-Aid McKinstry once again had a very, very solid outing. Again, great strategy by Brandon Staley. Blitzed the hell out of Bryce. Made him feel uncomfortable. But the execution on the field has to be there too. The Saints won the trenches and matched up with the athletes that the Panthers do have on the outside. I thought it was a masterful game. Granted, Carolina is not a good offense, but anytime you hold an NFL team to 175 total yards on 50 plays, by the way, you're doing a pretty darn good job defensively.
The one thing that impressed me, you said coming out and wanting to stop the run, because Rico Dowell has been on an absolute tear this year, which is hilarious because they just paid Chuba Hubbard a ton of money.
Right.
And Rico Dowell comes out of nowhere and is now the number one back, while Chuba Hubbard making $100 million is, splitting carries with a guy who I didn't even think he would. I mean, I thought he'd make the roster. I didn't think he'd be a guy that was getting consistent touches. But I digress. The game plan to stop Bryce Young and stop this offense is two parts. Bob brought up the first part, stopping the run. But I think the biggest thing that we've learned with this Bryce Young experiment over, I guess, the last 2 years total from the time he really got benched last year on, is if you put relentless pressure on Bryce Young, he doesn't know what to do. And I don't even think it's a height thing. I don't think it's a size thing. He's listed at 5'9" when you go and go into the stadium and actually grab like the media information. He's listed at like 5'9", 5'10". I mean, he's a short quarterback, but I don't think it has anything to do with that. He just gets rattled. You see it on tape. He gets rattled. He doesn't know what to do. That pocket presence and IQ that I just praised Tyler Shough about, like Bryce doesn't have that. And some of that is it's really hard to find a relaunching point when you're that much smaller than everybody else. You can't really see where that angle and where that launch point may be. So maybe it does have something to do with that. Maybe I'm talking myself into, maybe it is because he's short. But the Saints brought pressure. They brought different packages. They showed him different looks. Bryce's worst throw of the game was the interception to Alontae Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
But if you go back and you watch the All-22, it's not all on Bryce, even though I just said it was his worst throw of the game. The first was the wide receiver's route.
Yeah.
Was bad. It was lazy, right? It wasn't a strong cut to the outside, but more importantly, it was the look that the Saints defense gave him, right? Because just a few plays prior, or maybe it was the drive prior, Alontae Taylor blitzed from a similar position on the opposite side and didn't get to Bryce, but it was something that Bryce felt.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, let's show him the same look, but bring it from the opposite side. And then what happens? Well, instead of blitzing, he drops into coverage. He drops into the flat. Bryce never sees it. He throws it right to him. Worst throw that Bryce threw all day. Again, I think it was Ted McMillan, who I know was playing sick that game. There was a bad route. That was a rookie mistake to a T. Terrible route. But the only reason that you're able to run that successfully in the third quarter of the game or fourth quarter of the game, whatever part of the second half it was because of all the pressure and all the different looks that they showed Bryce early.
Mm-hmm.
So that is coaching. And I will applaud Staley for going, hey, let's see what Green Bay didn't do the week prior. And let's see what teams that have manhandled Carolina have done. And let's make sure we do that.
Yeah, and we saw Staley blitz Taylor from the outside a few times, and we know Alontae is a very highly disruptive defender when he's used that way. We saw him blitz Justin Reed, both on the inside and outside a couple times. Demario Davis nearly got home with a few blitzes. Isaiah Stallbird. Who is guys, you look back at the tape when Stallbird is in the game, things happen. But Isaiah Stallbird was used on a couple blitzes. Nathan Shepard on a few stunts, where Chase Young drew the defensive attention and Shepard got free for a few pressures. So, again, Staley was mixing up his looks, which we were not seeing from him over the first 2 months of the year. So, again, hopefully, and I think the defense has played generally better than the offense almost all of this season, Brendan, I think. But they've been wildly up and down too. And when you have as many young players as this unit does, that's kind of what you expect. So again, I'm not ready to hit the pedal to the floor just yet and saying, okay, the Saints are about to turn the corner and be an elite defensive unit. I've seen a lot of promising and exciting things, but I also need to see more consistency coming out of the bye.
Yeah, I agree. I will say one thing that brought a smile to my face was seeing Cameron Jordan get a sack. He's at 125 for his career, 50th different quarterback that he's sacked. It's an interesting stat about sacks. I would love to go back and see all the players that have 100 career sacks. How many different quarterbacks did they sack?
Mm.
Right? Like, I think that's an interesting one. Very similar when you look at the Mannings and the Breezes and the Bradys of the world for how many different guys they threw touchdowns to.
Right.
Like, that one's always fun. I think it would be fun to go back and look at a guy like Ricky. How many different quarterbacks did Ricky sack in his career, right? Like, things like that I think would be uber interesting. But it's nice to see because I don't know how many more times we're going to see it, unfortunately. But it is nice to see things like that happen. It's nice to see some growing confidence with some of these guys. It's nice to see Danny Stutzman get some snaps.
Mm-hmm.
It might not be stats where you see like an immediate impact or a big play, but there's a reason he was drafted, and we both liked the pick when it happened. And the more real on-field experience that he can get, the better off he's going to be. So I love little things like that. You're absolutely right about the ups and downs, though. The highs and the lows of the defense have been much higher and much lower than the offense. The offense has been a little flatlined. I think you got a little bump here this past week. I think week 1, you had a little bump against Arizona where you're like, oh, okay, like maybe this offense, not great, but better than it was last year. And then kind of flatlined until now. You get a little bump here. So hopefully they can continue to grow on that. But defensively, all you want to see is consistency.
Yeah.
And you want to see these young guys not just make plays, but I think more importantly, and I think you'll appreciate this as a coach, you want to be able to go in on Monday or Tuesday, throw on the tape, and be like, you know what? We may not have got the best results off of this play, but man, look at Quincy Riley right here in the right position. Or look at Danny Stutzman here in the right position. Look at Kool-Aid McKinstry. You want to be able to throw on the tape and be like, you know what? We might have not got the end result that we wanted on this particular down, but you were in the right spot. Because if you're in the right spot and the instincts are right, everything else is coachable.
Yep.
Right? And that's ultimately what you want to see, which I know as a fan base, you guys are sitting here like, damn it, Brendan, that's the last thing I want to hear. I want results. This year's not about results. Unfortunately, we're at that point in the year. It's not about results. It's about growing what you have. And something we've said since the start of the year, Bob, and I'm sure these guys are super tired of us talking about it, is an evaluation process. These last however many weeks are like the peak evaluation for who's staying, because a lot of these guys were not handpicked by this coaching staff. They were inherited. How many of these guys are staying? How many of these guys fit our blueprint and our plan and our timeline? That's a key word that we'll have to talk about a lot more as the season comes to an end. Who fits this timeline and who doesn't? And that's where we're at. And hopefully the defense continues to progress in the right direction.
Well, and what you just said, and I've written some things, to this angle too. Kool-Aid McKinstry. Let's talk about him for a second.
Sure. Because
Kool-Aid has gotten a good bit of criticism from fans. And like you said, the average fan, and listen, we all want results, whether you're a player, a coach, or a fan. You all want results at the end of the day. But Kool-Aid has gotten a lot of criticism because he gave up X amount of catches to this receiver or that receiver. Well, look at the players that he's given up some big games to. Those are some of the best receivers in the NFL. B, look at the tape closer. I want to see Kool-Aid make more plays, don't get me wrong, but I am not discouraged by Kool-Aid McKinstry because he is in position to make a lot of these plays where the opposing quarterback is just making a perfectly accurate throw, or the receiver is just making a good play. But Kool-Aid is like this close. Now, you need especially if he's your top corner, but you need your defender to start converting those almost into big plays for your defense. But he's there. He's sticking with these guys in coverage. And him and Quincy Riley together. If you think about it, out take the Rams result out. Because A, that was a debacle, and B, that was kind of the outlier for this secondary and this Saints coverage unit as a whole. Because you take that Rams game out, and there's really nobody else that shredded them. They didn't have good outings against mediocre quarterbacks like Sam Darnold and Mac Jones. But it's not like that they were ripped apart either. Those quarterbacks didn't put up video game numbers or anything like that. But again, situations where your defenders, whether it's McKinstry, Riley, Jonas Sanker, even Alontae Taylor, they're close to making plays. And they're really close to turning a corner. I've written many times, and I've said it a few times. I think the New Orleans secondary as a whole, I'm disappointed in Justin Reed, but the unit as a whole is by far the most consistent and well-played unit of any of the positions on the Saints this year.
I think Kool-Aid has gotten scrutiny, some deserved, some not. Right, particularly early in the year, I think a lot of the scrutiny came from he was the one guy that a lot of people circled to have like the biggest jump from year one to year two. I think a lot of that needed to be tempered because he went from being a guy that was succeeding being the number two, the number three guy, really the number three guy, to all of a sudden you're the number one guy. And you're drawing completely different matchups as the number one corner than as the number three.
Yeah, right? Big difference from covering a guy like Jalen Coker to covering a Puka Nacua.
Right, yeah, exactly. And so I think some of the early season struggles were maybe a little too tightly looked under a microscope. And some of the fan base was a little too loud about it. I would agree with you that for the most part, when you throw on the tape, you can see why he was a guy who had a first-round grade by many, and why he's still a guy that this team clearly believes in, or they would not have let Marshawn and Paulson go the way that they did. So there's that. I still think there's room for improvement. I think we can both agree on that. But I think this is going to be a really interesting stretch for Kool-Aid because of what's upcoming in terms of the Saints not playing super, I don't want to say super talented. If you're in the NFL, you're talented, but playing lesser competition, right? You get the Jets, you get the Titans, you get the Panthers again. You get Atlanta, who you just never know what you're going to get. How is he going to perform against those matchups, right? None of those.
Yeah, and you know what? If you look past the team, and there's some bad teams remaining, but you look at some of the individual matchups. Atlanta's coming in with Drake London.
Good receiver.
The Jets have Garrett Wilson. The Dolphins, have Jalen Waddle. You have your rematch with the Buccaneers. I know Mike Evans is on IR right now. I don't know whether he'll be out for the rest of the year or not, but Chris Godwin could return any week now. And Emeka Egbuka is my offensive rookie of the year if the season ended today. So you have some good matchups for that secondary, for that young secondary down the stretch. And frankly, they're the type of matchups that if the Saints can win those matchups, they stand a good chance to win the game. But again, like you said earlier, you got to eliminate or at least minimize the ups and downs down the stretch, and that's what we're going to look for from this defense.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. I do want to go back to Carolina real quick, selfishly, with all the Bryce Young noise. I can confirm here in Charlotte, for all of you people that may be curious, because it is NFC South news, there's a lot of question marks, not just from the fan base, not just from the local media. There's a lot of questions internally on is he the guy moving forward? Because it has been another year of ups and downs. But also, I think some of that internal questioning may be coming from a fan base that is extremely over it. I'm talking about not just, the loudmouths online. I'm talking about your loyal season ticket holders. I'm talking about people who have been with and backing the organization for a long time, where you're seeing people be very public and voicing their opinions very strongly that they're ready to move on. Is that fair for a guy who's in his third year? Maybe not.
You may a little bit, yeah.
Maybe not. A guy who's already been benched? Maybe not. But that's kind of where it stands. And you know what's gonna? And I said this years ago. So this is me patting myself on the back, which Bob is appreciative of because I don't do it all the time. This is me patting myself on the back. When that draft happened, I was very vocal that CJ Stroud was the more NFL-ready quarterback, and he should be the clear-cut number one pick. And then I wouldn't say very late, but later in the process, it became to look more and more likely that it was going to be Bryce Young, and I just didn't understand it. But two, I've said over the last 2.5 years, and especially since the picks have now been finalized, I said, is anybody going to look back at how much the Panthers gave up to move from 9 to 1?
Yeah.
Are we just going to ignore that? Because now that the picks are in, you're talking about they gave up DJ Moore, who is not putting up the numbers that he did in Carolina, but he's still a really vital weapon offensively for Chicago, and I think he would be a vital weapon for any offense in the league because of the different things he can do, kind of Deebo Samuel-like, right? Talking about Caleb Williams, right? Remember, they traded for the number one pick, and the very next year, they had the worst record in football. So that pick became Caleb Williams, and you just go down the list of what all of these picks became, and you go, damn, for Bryce Young, essentially, straight up, and I'm not even going to talk about what the other picks became. Straight up, Bryce Young for DJ Moore and Caleb Williams. And that's before I get into any of the other contributors that they've gotten from those picks. Are we just going to ignore? I mean, I know people in Charlotte are very aware of what they gave up. They sacrificed their future for a guy who has this team at 500. Which, in all actuality, isn't that bad.
No.
In the NFC, it's really not that bad. Like, you string a couple together here, and you could easily find yourself in the playoffs at 9-8, 10-7, right? You could. That's just the reality of the NFC, especially. Man, people are ready to move on. I feel bad for the kid. He seems like a good guy. But, oh, man.
Well, but you look at the quarterback situation, and we say it here all the time, that in the NFL, you are in one of two categories. You either have your franchise quarterback or you're trying to desperately get your franchise quarterback. And when you have an opportunity at the top of the draft, when you're a team when you're in that second category, the team that is looking to get a franchise quarterback, and you have an opportunity at the top of the draft, whether it's poor play earning you that top draft pick, or whether you're able to pull the trigger like the Panthers did and move up to get one, you can't pass up the opportunity. Now, we criticize the Panthers all we want. Pat yourself, give yourself your deserved pats on the back. Saying, the pick should have been C.J. Stroud and
Not
not,
that he's been
not
very
Bryce
good
Young.
this year, but
Yeah, right. But I mean, CJ has been the decidedly better quarterback of the two from the start and pretty much consistently throughout. So if you're the Panthers, you had the right mindset. You had to do something to get your quarterback. Since you got that quarterback, you've gone through now two coaches, but both of them were offensive coordinators. So I mean, you're doing the right thing and bringing in on paper, bringing in your coaching staff to support your quarterback. You spent not one but two first-round draft choices on wide receivers, and Xavier Legette, who did not have a catch against the Saints, by the way, and Tet McMillan. You drafted an athletic tight end in Jatavion Sanders. You brought in a running back, Rico Dowdle. You paid a back on Chuba Howard, who had been productive for you, and you drafted one. I forget his name, a young man from Texas 2 years ago. He's been basically hurt more. He's there. He's their answer to Kendre Miller.
He can't get healthy.
Right. So, I mean, you're doing all the things necessary to surround your quarterback with the pieces for success on paper. Again, you could criticize, they should have drafted this receiver instead of that receiver, or signed this back instead of that back. That's splitting hairs. You want to surround your quarterback with the coaching brain trust and offensive skill positions and a line that can protect him. Well, I mean, you have two good tackles in Carolina, and they spent some good money on in free agency on guards who have been, again, more hurt than healthy. So on paper, you're making the right moves. Which brings us back to Tyler Shough.
Yes.
I
know the exact way you're going, and I love it.
And I mean, I'd love to end the show on this subject because of that. So that was a great segue by you. You're bringing up Young. First of all, you and I expected that Tyler Shough would likely finish even if he didn't start the season as the starter, and he didn't, that he would finish the season as a starter.
We said that from as soon as Rattler was named the starter. We both said Shough will start at some point this year.
Yep, unless Rattler turned out to be the second coming, and whether you're a Rattler supporter or a Rattler critic, I think at the very least, even if you're a Rattler family member, you have to admit, okay, he played well at times, but he wasn't the definitive answer to the position. So you had to turn it over to Shough. The reason why is you are trending, if you're the Saints, even now at 2-8, you are trending it towards having a top 3 pick. So you at least have to, and we've said this consistently all along too, you at least have to find out if you have an answer to the quarterback position in Tyler Shough, a guy who you spent a second-round draft choice on. I know all you draft wannabe experts and wannabe GMs and et cetera say, well, they shouldn't have drafted him. Irrelevant. They did. So now you have to find out what you have to find out how big a need this is, because like we just got done saying, if you don't have a franchise quarterback, then you have to turn heaven and earth to get one. Well, it's not many times in your franchise's existence that you're picking top 1, top 2, top 3 in the draft. So if you are, Brendan, if you finish with a top 1, 2, 3 pick, I think it's probably safe to say that Tyler Shough at least did not play well enough to play you out of that position, correct?
Yep.
So as a result, if you have a top 1, 2, 3 pick, it would be wise to do what with it, Brendan?
Well, if you end up in that position, one, do your homework on quarterbacks and determine whether or not that's the position of need. But if it's not, and you say Shough didn't play us well enough to get out of the bottom, but he played well enough to give us confidence that he could be the solution moving forward. There's a boatload of options that you have. You just praised Carolina for how they built a team around Bryce Young. You know how much easier it is to build a team around somebody when you have a top pick, but you have the answer at quarterback? That's what the Saints are trying to find out here at the end.
Exactly.
Right? And it's not about, and again, I said this 30 minutes ago, and you guys are going to be throwing tomatoes at me virtually or whatever. That would be fun. Do you think we could get a fund where people could like pay us to virtually throw tomatoes at our face?
That would be pretty cool.
That would be cool. That would be cool.
Have AI like splatter things.
While we're talking. Yeah, that would be
cool.
I got to see if we can make that happen. But anyway, I digress. This is not about results these last however many weeks. It's not about wins and losses. It's about putting things on tape. It's about figuring out which soldiers you want to bring to battle with you next year. And see if people, it's a buzz term, right? Is going around and saying we're building a culture. We're building a culture. But you are. Mm-hmm. You got to figure out who fits and who doesn't. And again, even if Shough is good enough to keep you competitive, but not good enough to win you all those games, I think it does give you an indication of how you can approach let's just say a top 5 pick, right? Because then you can start looking at, do we go offensive line for the 100th year in a row? Do we go and get him a true number 1 target or number 2? Do we find the successor to Alvin Kamara? What do we do? It gives you options opposed to sitting there in the top 5 and being like, do we need to go do we draft Drew Aller after an injury? Nussmeier was benched last week. Do we get Garrett Nussmeier? If Arch Manning declares, is Arch Manning a guy you go get? No. If you can avoid that conversation, it's so much better. And I said this to you privately, and I will now say it publicly. If they end up in the top 5 and they're happy with how Tyler Shough played out the rest of this year, which we still have a long way to go, don't you think it would be wise for a team that has 7 draft picks this year to do the one thing that Mickey Loomis has never done and trade back and asset collect? That's another buzz term that is very popular in the basketball space, not so much the NFL space, but asset collection, right? When you are a team that has no freaking money because you're busy paying guys that are either not on the roster or dudes that are 100 years old. Now, I know some of that cap's clearing up and they're going to have some money to spend in free agency. Don't get super mad at me, guys. But what do you think the best thing to do is in a rebuild? Asset collect. Because what can you do with assets and draft picks? And not just draft picks. I'm talking assets. It could be young players that haven't worked out. We're just talking about Bryce Young. Maybe not at the quarterback position. That's probably not the best example. But a guy like Xavier Legette, we'll just stick with Carolina because we're just talking about them, has not worked out so far. What if there's a team that gets desperate and really wants to move up to take a Drew Aller, an Arch Manning, or a Garrett Nussmeier? They're like, we'll give you this young prospect that really hasn't worked out really cheap. That's asset collecting because you can either turn that around and use that to your advantage in another trade, or if you get a draft pick, you can do the same thing. How many picks can we package to go get a piece or a veteran guy or whatever that fits this system a little bit better? And think about all the places that Brandon Staley has coached. And think about all the places and all the players that Kellen Moore has coached. There's going to be a guy that they're going to want to go get because they loved working with them before. Right? I don't know who that player is going to be, but there's going to be one. And that's why it's so important this last little bit for Tyler Shough.
It is. And you mentioned Arch and Nussmeier and Aller a few times. I think the top 2 quarterbacks at the top, the quarterbacks at the top of the draft right now would probably be Fernando Mendoza of Indiana and Dante Moore of Oregon. But I do want to point and laugh at all you guys, because at this time last year, you were all saying, the 2025 quarterback draft class sucks. Meanwhile, in 2024, you couldn't wait to get to 2025 because it was such a good quarterback class. In 2025, you were saying, okay, this year's class sucks, but next year's class has Cade Klubnik and Sellers from South Carolina, Arch, Arch and Aller and Nussmeier. And now look what you're saying about them. But then I'm saying those seem the same people. But you look at 2027, Sellers will have another year of development, and you're throwing out the Sayin from Ohio State, Dante Moore if he holds out a year, Arch too. So I'm like, again, I keep going back to, if you have a pick at the top of the 2026 draft and there's a quarterback you like, you're not going to be, if you're Mickey Loomis or any NFL GM or coach, you're not going to sit there and say, well, I'm going to wait to 2027 to get my quarterback.
Yep.
That's moronic thinking, folks. So you go back to, if Shough plays well, but the Saints have a top, are picking in the top 3, probably more likely the top 2. But Shough still plays well, then that means you're likely talking about an absolute defensive collapse. Otherwise you don't pick that high in the draft with decent quarterback play. But say in a perfect world, okay, you have a defensive collapse, or just a bunch of weird things happen. Because I mean, this Saints team, they play the Falcons twice, the Panthers, the Jets, the Dolphins, the Titans. Those are 5 bad football teams, 6 games. And then you have your rematch against the Buccaneers. If in some crazy scenario that you're picking ahead of the Jets, or the Dolphins could be moving on from Tua, but the Jets in particular, they're going to want a quarterback in this draft. There's no doubt in my mind. And if you're picking a pick ahead of them, but you have your quarterback in Tyler Shough, again, this is an unlikely scenario, because you're probably not going to have the worst record or second worst record if Tyler Shough plays well. But say some weird things happen. You're sitting ahead of the New York Jets or Miami Dolphins if they're in love with a quarterback, and you have your quarterback in Tyler Shough. Then you fleece those MFers, and you get assets. You pick up a couple picks in the 26 draft and another first rounder in the 27 draft. And guess what? You can get your edge rusher. You can get your bona fide, your legitimate number 1 wide receiver. You can get better interior line blocking. A good off-ball linebacker is a successor to Davis. So many team needs that the Saints will have going into this offseason.
I like that you said the Jets, because the first thing that came to my mind is, like, I don't know how Breece Hall's still on that team. I don't know what they did at the deadline. But if they want to give me like a first, 2 seconds, and Breece Hall to trade up, I'm all about it. All about it. I know Breece Hall's probably not the most perfect fit, but I'm all about it. Yeah. And again, I'll say it for the 100th time, and we'll say it again on Sunday, because Bob and I are going to do a season recap to this point show on Sunday for you guys, just because it's something fun. I'll say it for the 100th time. It's not about winning games. These last 7 games of the season, not about winning games.
Although I'm going to interrupt you. If you go over against the Jets, Titans, Dolphins, and you get swept by the Falcons, we'll be canceling
a
lot of I will get us in trouble with the FCC for sure.
So, yeah, okay. It's not all about winning.
Yeah.
It is about seeing what you have. You expect to win a couple.
Get better, develop, win what you should. And build that. Those are the building blocks to a good franchise.
Absolutely. That's what we're looking for. We'll talk more about the season in review to this point on Sunday. I'm not sure when we're going to do it, but we'll have it at some point on Sunday, whenever we kind of feel like it. Thank you guys for joining us on a Wednesday, on a Thursday. Thank you guys for dealing with my travel arrangements here of late.
And my personal issues. It's a mix of both.
No, it's definitely been me being on the road a lot more lately. But thank you guys for tuning in. Bob, I know that you're working hard over there at Saints Wire, USA Today. You're putting out articles left and right. That's what we've come to expect out of you, right, Mr. I write 100 articles, dang near close to it sometimes a month. Where can people follow you and your work with John Sigler and everybody over there at USA Today?
Well, and that's just it. Started Saints Wire, they are available on Facebook and Twitter as well. And it is a USA Today publication. So even if you are on the USA Today site, you can sift through all the sports to get to the Saints. But yeah, the most direct way is Saints Wire. And I continue to post all of my articles on my personal social medias as well. Bob Rose on Facebook, at BobbyR2613. Make sure that you give our BayouBlitz Twitter page and BayouBlitz Facebook page a couple of follows. I know a bunch of you do already, and thank you for that. Get more fans in. Because we can't wait to do some exclusive things, especially on the Facebook page. This off season, we're going to have a few giveaways. But speaking of getaway, go to tcynow.org. That's the Get Checked or Check Out Foundation site. Donate if you can, but the best way to donate is reserve your spot for the 2026 Go Black and Gold Celebrity Charity Fan Cruise. That's Thursday, March 26th through Monday, March 30th, sailing into the Bahamas. I gave you the contact information for that at the beginning of the show. If you need it again, you can rewind to the beginning of the show, or you can reach out to me. I will be happy to talk about the cruise, talk about the foundation, talk about the site, whatever you guys need. Just make sure you book those cabins today, because I want to see this thing absolutely explode into something huge, because it benefits such a great cause, gives you a great opportunity to meet some fantastic people and have an unforgettable trip.
Absolutely. For me, you can follow me right here at BT Boylan. Bob, that was a fun conversation. We didn't have to stress too much. We're talking about a win. We haven't got to do that a whole lot this year. Talk about some positive. Talks about things that we've taken away. We'll do more of that on Sunday. In the meantime, go ahead and check out tcynow.org and give us follows on social if you haven't already, and we will make sure to keep you up to date with when we're going live on Sunday to talk to you guys about the Saints season recap to this point. That's Bob Rose. I'm Brendan Boylan. Thanks so much for tuning in. Until Sunday, hope you guys find some peace, spread love, practice positivity. We'll see you then. Who dat?